Just sold the Lexus. Bye, mate. So I told you this video was coming. This is a tow bar for the HILUX. So it cost me 360 bucks. Got it from a local Adelaide company called TOWBAR, and it's built by a company called Milford. So apparently this is a direct bolt-on, which I've heard before, but just get stuck into it. It's only half a dozen bolts, so it should be pretty easy. So it's 2.5 ton rated. Comes with the ball, comes with all the nuts and bolts and everything you need. Comes with a cover, which is actually really nice quality, and a couple D shackles and the pin, and then the tow bar itself, or the tongue, sorry, and the tow bar itself. So I'll go grab some tools and we'll get started. Alright, so I just grabbed some tools. I grabbed 16, 17, 18, 19 and 2 shifters and the rattle gun. It's probably all I need. If I need anything else, I'll add it in the video later. So this does come with instructions, but we both know I'm not going to read that. So I'm just going to jump into it and try and get this thing back together. So I've just jumped onto the back of the HILUX, and you can see here I've added these 2 bolts here. They're on this piece of wire, and then if you look at the tow bar, they correspond with these 2 bolt holes here, and these 2 bolt holes here go up here and correspond with these 2. So pretty easy. The 2 bolts are on a plate and then a piece of wire. So I've just straightened them out, got them through the hole, and then bent the wire back to where it fits. So let's do this to the other side, and then offer up the tow bar and get the bolts on. Alright, so that was actually super easy. The only thing I would suggest is with the piece of wire and the 2 captive nuts, or bolts, sorry, stretch this out lengthways, put one in, pull it down, get the nut on it, and then break this off, and then flip it around and do the same with the second one, and then break this off. If you try and do both at the same time, it's actually quite a pain. Tow bar's on. So it's only 8 bolts. Pretty easy. So the next step is just put this cover on, so it just pushes on. It actually comes with an Allen key to adjust this here, which adjusts the preload or the tension, but it's nice and tight, so that's good. I've also chucked this bolt in here, so this holds the tow bar and stops it from bouncing around. So next I just got to put the tongue together, put the ball on, and pop it in there. So as you can see, this is the tongue for the tow bar. I've got the 50mm ball, or 2-inch or whatever it is. Just chucked it through here, spring washer and a nut. So I've got a big shifter on the top and a little shifter on the bottom, or 2 big shifters or whatever you got. Do that up as tight as you can, and then chuck it into there, put the pin through, put the split pin in, and you're good to go. So none of the shifters that I have are actually big enough to spread to hold that, so I have to do it at work. I've just done the nut up as hard as I can with what I've got, which is these 2 here. So I'll do that when I get to work. I'll just get a big shifter from work and do that up. So put the pin through, put the split pin in, tighten up this nut, and then just put the D shackles on here and do the wiring, which I'll do another day. So the weather's cleared up a bit, so I thought I would get onto the tail light wiring for the trailer, or the trailer plug wiring. So I've just popped this tail light out. It's 2 10mm bolts on the side, and then just these 2 clips here, so you just pull it out. And then disconnect this plug, and I've just stripped back some of the loom, so now I need to work out what these wires do. So there's 6 wires here, and only 5 are used on the tail light, so that makes me think that the one that's not used is the indicator for the other side. So I'll get the multimeter out, and I'll show you how to diagnose which wire does what. So we'll start with the tail light. Just turn the headlights on, gives me a tail light. So this side's not plugged in obviously, so I'll just hook up the multimeter and show you what to look for. So it's going to be a little bit hard to film this with one hand, but what I'm doing is hooking up the negative for the multimeter onto the earth. So just hold that with this finger, and then looking at the multimeter and using the other prong, just pinning each of these wires until one reads with voltage. So that will show me which one the tail light is. So I've found that this one here has voltage. So as you can see, 11.9 or whatever that is. It's a bit shaky because I'm holding on to everything a bit loose. So if I go turn the headlights off and that drops to 0, then I'll know that that's the tail light wire. Alright, so I've turned the tail lights off, just got that plugged in. So if I earth this pin, you can see that reads not much. Unfortunately, I can't change this to full volts, so that's only reading a couple of millivolts, so that's nothing to worry about. So that wire, the second one on the top, the middle one, that's the tail light wire. So now I've turned the hazard lights on, turn the headlights off, So now what I need to do is probe this until I find two wires that are flashing voltage, and then I'll know that that's the left and right, and then I need to work out which one is left and which one is right. So just trying to show this a little bit clearer, I've grabbed the taillight assembly out of one of the Corollas. So just cut that off. I'll bare these two wires, and then we'll just use this instead of the multimeter. So just showing how the tail light works. So I've got it in the pin that I know is the tail light, and then I'll just earth this end onto the nut up here, and then the light should glow. So I know that's the tail light. So now if I go turn the tail lights off, that should turn off. So I just turn the tail light off, and this should never glow again. Perfect. So now I'll turn the hazard lights on and work out which ones of these are for the indicators, and then keep going until we work out all of the wires. So when I was looking for the indicators, I had the hazard lights on, and this is the only wire I could find that was flashing. So I've just turned the hazard lights off and turned the left-hand indicator on, and this is what the result was. So I don't believe that there's a right-hand indicator wire in this corner, so I'll have to go underneath the car and find a wire there. So just laying under the back of the car here, I've just pulled the tail light wiring through, and you can see it joins just here. So there's a wire just here. So I'll undo this tape here and try and find the other wires I need. So just looking at the back of the car here, I need to put the trailer plug somewhere. So this is the trailer plug. Just lifts up like that, and then you plug it in. So I'd like that on the right hand side because my trailer has the plug on the right hand side. And then I also have this little light bar that I got from eBay. So I'll just chuck that on there on the other side and then wire that up later. So what I want to do is measure the middle and then mount the trailer plug and mount the light bar. So I've just drilled a couple of holes in the back panel here. So that one there is for the wire for the plug, and then I'll have to drill 3 more to mount it. And then this one over here, one's for the bolt hole, so the bottom one is for the bolt hole for that little light bar, and then the top one's for the wire. So I won't be wiring that up today, but I'll do it later. At least if it's mounted, then I'll remember to do it. So this one, I'm going to feed the wire through and then get the wires over here with the tail light wiring, and then start joining wires together. So I've just fed the wire for the plug through. That's just sitting there at the moment. I've run the wire across and it comes through here. It's just going to be zip tied up out here, out the way. So I've got the ends here, and I have worked out the earth, the tail lights, the brake light and the left hand indicator. So these two other wires will be for the reverse light and something else that I can't think of. So I can't find a right hand indicator light switch on these two. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to run a wire from that side to this side, which is a little bit annoying. So I'll just wire these 4 that I know are up and then go from there. So I'll have everything except for the right hand indicator at this point. So what I'm going to do is I've cut these. I'm just going to bare the ends and bare the ends of the other end and put them back together, and then join in with the trailer plug onto there as well, and chuck on some heat shrink and stuff like that and solder it all together. So I've just bared the ends of these wires and thread on the heat shrink, and then I've also joined the trailer light wiring to the original wiring coming from the front of the car. So now I just need to join these from down the bottom to these ones in the corresponding colours, and then put the heat shrink on. So this is the brake lights, the tail lights, the left hand indicator and the earth. So all I need to do for the other side is the right hand indicator. So I'm just going to run a wire from the right hand side of the car, follow along the trailer lights, and then just wire it into the end here, which is a little bit awkward, but it'll work. So I've done a horrible job of filming this, but I've got the light mounted on the back, got the plug wired in. I haven't mounted that one yet. So when I was wiring the tow bar, I found the reverse wire as well, the reverse light trigger. So spliced into that and gave myself a bit of wire and ran that down to this light here. So then that light has a positive and a negative, earthed it to where it bolts to. So ran the positive and the reverse wire with a dual core wire all the way to the front. So that goes along the chassis rail. It's all zip tied up and everything, and comes out here. So I've got a reverse wire and a positive, and then I'm just making up a relay box at the moment to then have the relays mounted just here on the battery mount, and then the reverse wire goes into one pin of the relay, then the positive goes into another pin, and then a negative and a positive from the battery. So then when I go into reverse, it turns that light on. So then I also wired in this light here. So this is just going to be for work lights. So dual core wire straight to the front, and it earths up here because it was easier. So it earths up here, and then it's got a positive up here. So all I need to do is make a switch wire from the cab to here to the relay. So I've made this. So it's just one of the blanks, cut it all out, mounted the switch in there, so on off for the work lights. So all I have to do now is run positive, negative, switched power, and the power positive from the light to the relay. And then flick this on, flicks the relay on, adds power straight from here to the back light. And then the third relay, which you'll see in a minute, is for a light bar that's going on the front, but I've ordered it and it hasn't rocked up yet. So I spliced into the headlights and got the high beam signal wire. So I got that one here. So again, relay will have positive, negative, switched power from the high beams, and then the positive off the relay will go to the light bar, and then the negative of the light bar will just earth to the chassis. So then I'll have reverse light, work light, and a front high beam LED bar. So I'll show you all of this once I get a bit more done. I'm just painting stuff at the moment, so you'll see it very shortly. So this is where I've decided to mount the switch for the work light, so the middle one that's missing obviously. So I've just popped it out, and I'm looking for a 12 volt ignition source. I'm assuming the cigarette lighter will be 12 volt ignition, not 12 volt constant. So I've just got my light here. I'll wire that into there, and if it turns on, then it's not good. But if I turn the ignition on and it turns on, then we're good to go. So I'll give that a go now. Alright, so I've plugged it in and it's not turning on. So I'll turn the ignition on and it turns on. Turns off, turns on. Perfect. So I'll tee into these wires back here and run power to that switch, and then run a wire from the switch to the relay under the bonnet, and that'll be my work light power. So I've just spliced into the power wire from the cigarette lighter. So now I'll just run this wire here with a spade bit on the end of it through the hole and put everything back together. So it's all back together. Now I can plug this wire into the switch, but I just realized that I need to run one to the front, so I probably shouldn't have put that together. So I'll run a wire to the front and get back to you. Alright, the second wire is run, so that goes to the battery. So now I'll just put a terminal on it, put the switch in, plug it back in. There's the terminals done. Here it is plugged in. Now I'm just going to pop it into here. Easy. So just putting the work light on the top of the HILUX here. Just put it in the middle and just trying to keep it below this level here, but try and keep it out of the tuck tray as well. So this is about the only spot I can mount it. And I've already put the one on the back for the reverse light. Alright, so
Good little thing.
yeah.
I'll give me a quick flick first and see what happens. Oops, that is the indicators. Yep.
Yeah, I can feel the relay
Yep.
clicking as well. Yeah, that's right.
Beauty.
Sweet. So, long story short, I was right, but I was supposed to be using the black, not the black one, I was
Yeah, you
supposed
just
to be
picked
using
the
the
wrong
red
trigger.
one.
Yeah.
That's so frustrating.
So the diagram I sent you was probably correct for this application, but you just had the wrong
The
trigger.
colours are the wrong
Yeah.
wires. So I finally had a spare minute this afternoon. I've mounted the light bar behind the number plate, or just above the number plate. So I've got a piece of angle iron, screwed that into the bumper, which goes up like that, and then the light bar bolts to it, and the number plate bolts to it. So as you can see, I've got the headlights on now, the light bar's off. So that's just the headlights, but if I put the high beam on, the light bar comes on as well, which I'll go around and show you. So there's the light bar there, and the high beam's on. So I'm not sure if it's angled the right way at the moment, but I'll test it and drive it for a bit and we'll go from there. So thanks for watching. That's it for this week.